Hey there, adventurers! Welcome back to ADHD Genius. Today, we're going on a journey to discover the magic of self-advocacy for those of us with ADHD. As someone who has ADHD myself, I've learned that speaking up for myself and communicating my needs effectively is crucial for my success. Now, I want you to imagine that you're stepping into a vast, dense forest, and it's an enchanting place, brimming with life, but also complicated, and a tad intimidating. And you've got no map, no compass, and you're not entirely sure where you're headed. And that's a bit like living with ADHD, isn't it? ADHD is a common neurodevelopmental disorder that can cause some challenges for those of us who have ADHD. And those challenges are just like the trees in the forest. They can sometimes be overwhelming, blocking out the sun and casting long shadows over our day-to-day lives. Now, think about how different it might feel if you had a detailed map of the forest, a compass to guide your way, and maybe even a friendly forest ranger to call on when things get a bit tricky. Suddenly, that intimidating forest doesn't seem quite so daunting, right? That's the power of self-advocacy. In this video, I'm going to help you find your compass, draw out your map, and maybe even introduce you to a fellow forest ranger along the way. And I'll dive into what ADHD really means and the importance of advocating for yourself and how to effectively do so in various aspects of life. And does that sound like a journey you guys are ready to go on? Then let's lace up our hiking boots and step onto the trail together. So you know how sometimes people can get really excited about their new ideas and want to tell you all about them? Yeah, that can be super overwhelming for someone like me with ADHD. My brain just can't process all those things at the same time. And I was talking to my dad at the park the other day, and he got really excited, and he was giving me all these suggestions for my YouTube channel. And he was like, you should do this and this and this and this. And I was like, slow down, Dad. Can we just take it one step at a time? And it made me realize that sometimes people forget that those of us with ADHD have different brains, and we can only process so much information at a time. And I learned this the hard way. One time, I tried to do everything my dad said at once, or my mom, and it was a disaster. And I ended up getting frustrated and feeling like I just couldn't do anything right. And it was exhausting. And I mean, have you ever tried to process multiple different things at once and just felt like your brain was going to short circuit? Yeah, me too. As a kid, I used to get overwhelmed so easily, and I could just only handle so much stuff at one time before I'd start to feel anxious and just plain stuck. And don't even get me started on following instructions. It was like trying to read a book while juggling chainsaws and do this and do that and do this and you know what I mean? But then I realized that I needed to advocate for myself, and I needed to tell my dad and other people how I felt and what I needed. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to be so comfortable walking through the forest and while others are struggling with every step? The answer is simple. It's not just about knowing the forest. It's also about knowing yourself. You see, every forest traveler is different, just like every individual with ADHD is different. And this is where self-advocacy comes into play. So, what exactly is self-advocacy? Well, in our forest metaphor is similar to knowing your capabilities and limits within the forest and being aware of the tools at your disposal and not being afraid to ask for a helping hand when it's needed. In real terms, self-advocacy is about understanding your ADHD and how it affects you specifically. It's about openly communicating your needs to other people and standing up for your rights. It's about knowing when to push harder, when to take a break, and when to ask for the help that you need. Sounds pretty important, doesn't it? And now, why is self-advocacy crucial for those of us with ADHD? Well, imagine trying to navigate the forest without speaking up when you need directions or assistance, and you might end up going in circles, right? And similarly, without self-advocacy, you could be stuck in an unproductive cycle, facing the same challenges over and over again without making progress. Self-advocacy plays a key role in improving the quality of life for those of us who have ADHD, and it allows you to secure the accommodations you need at work or school and receive appropriate treatment and build supportive relationships. And in essence, self-advocacy transforms you from a passive traveler merely enduring the forest to an active explorer, confidently navigating your way. And that's a journey worth setting out on, wouldn't you say? But how do you become this confident explorer? Well, that starts with building self-awareness, which is the next step on our journey. So, are you ready to dive deeper into the forest? Let's go. Okay, so here are some tips on how to build self-advocacy. Okay, so I want you guys to picture yourselves in the forest again. It's not enough to know that you're in the forest, right? To navigate it effectively, you need to understand the territory, identify the landmarks, and even recognize your own reactions to the environment. This is self-awareness. It's all about understanding yourself in relation to the forest of ADHD. But how do we build this self-awareness? Well, here are a few steps that you can take to build self-awareness. Step number 1, understanding your personal ADHD symptoms and triggers. Because self-advocacy is about understanding your personal ADHD symptoms and triggers. And ADHD isn't the same for everybody, okay? ADHD might be like a dense forest full of towering trees and winding paths, or perhaps it's more like a woodland glade with scattered grooves and streams. But recognizing these specific things is like getting a close-up look of your forest, understanding its unique features. Now, here are some questions to consider. Are you more prone to impulsivity, or does inattention hold you back? Are your symptoms constant, or do they fluctuate based on diet, sleep, stress? I don't know. And how do your symptoms change in different environments, around different people? And step number 2 is recognizing your strengths. Sure, some parts of the forest might be tough to cross, but maybe you struggle with time management or organization. However, remember, every forest also has its beautiful views and peaceful glades. Maybe you're a creative thinker, or perhaps you have a gift for seeing the big picture. But acknowledging these strengths can be as refreshing as finding a beautiful clearing within the dense forest. And acknowledging your weaknesses, well, that's like identifying the tricky ravines you need to navigate around. And if you're not sure how to identify your strengths and weaknesses, I left a link to an article that's really, really great in the description below, so check it out. And it has some really great reflection questions to get you started. And you should definitely know that building self-awareness isn't a one-time thing, though. It's a process, like slowly charting out a map of your forest. And this map doesn't just guide you, it also helps you explain your forest to other people. It empowers you to communicate your needs and challenges better. And which brings us to the next part of our journey, developing communication skills. Step 3 is developing communication skills. So I want you to imagine that you finally charted out your forest map. You've got a good lay of the land, but there's one catch. You're not alone in this forest. There are others around, fellow travelers, forest rangers, even people who've never seen a forest before. But to navigate effectively, you've got to be able to communicate with them. You need to articulate what you see, what you need, and where you're going. And that's where communication skills come into play. So first off, why is clear communication important for self-advocacy? Well, how can you ask for directions if you can't explain where you want to go? And how can you ask for help if you can't describe what's wrong? In the ADHD forest, clear communication is like a compass. It helps you state your needs, express your feelings, and assert your rights. Now, how can we sharpen these communication skills? Well, here are a few tips. Number 1, speak your truth. Don't be afraid to share your experiences with ADHD, and remember that you're the expert of your own forest, and your experiences are valid and worth sharing. Number 2, be specific. If you need help, be clear about what kind of help you need. Is it a rope to climb a steep cliff or a bridge to cross a river? In real life, do you need more time to complete tasks, or do you need quieter surroundings to focus? Number 3, listen actively. Communication isn't just about talking, but it's also about listening. Listen to the advice of the forest rangers, the experiences of fellow travelers, and you might learn something new about your own journey with ADHD. Number 4 is be assertive, not aggressive. There are differences between saying, I need a bridge here, and build me a bridge now. Remember, you have the right to voice your needs, but it's equally important to respect the rights and feelings of others. Mastering communication skills doesn't happen overnight, but with practice, you'll be chattering away with the best forest dwellers, and who knows, maybe you'll even teach a few of them something about the ADHD forest. Next up, we're going to talk about how to seek professional help and make the most out of it. So, are you ready to meet the forest rangers? Let's move forward. Step 4, navigating professional help. Imagine being lost in the forest, and out of the blue, you find a forest ranger station. You'd feel relieved, wouldn't you? But what good is finding the station if you can't effectively communicate your needs, or if you don't understand the advice they give you? Navigating professional help for ADHD is a lot like this scenario. It's about knowing when, how, and why to reach out, and then making the most of that help. So when and how do we seek professional help? Firstly, knowing when to seek professional help is crucial. Okay, so if you're feeling lost, overwhelmed, or stuck in the forest of ADHD, that's a good sign that you might need to reach out. But I just want you guys to remember that you don't need to be at your worst to seek help. Regular check-ins with your mental health professionals, just like the routine visits to the ranger station, can help keep your journey smooth. Now, how do we seek help? Well, start by finding a healthcare provider who specializes in adult ADHD or ADHD in general, and reach out to them and explain your symptoms and express your concerns. And it might feel daunting, but just remember that these professionals are here to help you. And they're the forest rangers of your ADHD journey. Communicating effectively with these healthcare providers is very important, because once you've sought help, it's important to communicate effectively with your healthcare provider. And I want you guys to also remember that my communication tips, the ones that I gave you, they come in handy here. So be open about your symptoms and ask questions, clarify any doubts, and don't be afraid to discuss treatment options. Your healthcare provider can offer guidance, but you are the one traversing the forest. So your input matters, but understanding your rights as a patient is important. And lastly, it's important to understand your rights as a patient, because just like every forest traveler has the right to clear paths and safe camping spots, every patient has the right to respectful, considerate care. And you have the right to be informed about your treatment, to privacy and confidentially, and to accept that or refuse care. And understanding these rights is an essential part of self-advocacy. So navigating professional help might feel like venturing into a new part of the forest, but with the right tools and mindset, you can make the most of it. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. There are other resources and support networks available to you, which is what we'll explore in the next section. So, are you ready to meet your fellow forest travelers? Let's go. I want to talk a little bit about workplace advocacy. Under the Americans with Disabilities, ACT, or ADA, you might have rights in the workplace. It's like having an official explorer's license. It gives you certain protections and privileges. And these include the right to reasonable accommodations, such as flexible work hours, quiet workspaces, or additional breaks. But how do you go about requesting these accommodations? Well, it starts with communication. Remember the language of the forest? Talk to your HR department or supervisor about your ADHD and how it affects your work. Be specific about what accommodations would help you perform your job better. And remember, it's not just about your rights, it's also about communicating with your coworkers. They might not understand what it's like to navigate the ADHD forest. But by sharing your experiences, you can foster understanding and mutual respect. Building a support network is what I'm going to talk about next, because walking through the forest alone can be daunting. But with fellow travelers by your side, the journey becomes a shared adventure. And that's the power of a support network. A support network can be family, friends, or even ADHD support groups. These are the people who stand by you and understand your journey and offer assistance when you need it. And they can provide emotional support, share their own experiences, and even help you brainstorm solutions to challenges. So finding and joining an ADHD support group can be particularly helpful. And it's like joining a group of seasoned forest explorers who've been navigating their own ADHD forests. And they can provide unique insights and advice, and that can only someone with ADHD can offer. So don't hesitate to reach out to those around you, but build your support network, because in the forest of ADHD, no explorer should walk alone. Also, I left a couple links in the description to a few great groups and forums and online communities to check out whenever you get a chance. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? From understanding ADHD learning to navigating the professional landscape, we've charted our way through the complex forest of ADHD, and it makes my head hurt. But navigating the forest is never easy, but with self-awareness, communication, professional help, and a strong support system, it's definitely manageable. So, remember, if you're someone with ADHD like myself, remember that it's okay to ask for help and to advocate for yourself, and don't be afraid to say, I need a little more extra time, or can we do this later? Because your brain is unique and it deserves respect. Just remember that you're not just an explorer in the forest, you're also its cartographer, and you have the power to chart your own path and make your journey a successful one. So lace up your boots, grab your map and compass, and step confidently into your ADHD forest, because guess what? You're not just surviving this forest, you're mastering it. And who knows, maybe your journey will inspire other explorers to do the same, in the same way that I hope my journey has helped you. And remember, you're not alone in this forest. We're all navigating it together, one step at a time. So why not share your story? What's your experience with self-advocacy and ADHD? Let's continue the conversation and learn from each other. So after all, every explorer has a unique story to tell. And that's it for today's adventure. And thank you guys so much for watching this video, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you liked this video. And I'll see you guys in the next one.